Hello, I've got a question for you. If you're a home buyer in the marketplace and you actually hired a realtor, you weren't a realtor or a lender or anybody in the industry, what would you want from the real estate agent who's representing your interests in an area that maybe you don't know about? Would you want the realtor to give you the most amount of data or the least amount of data? You be the judge after you watch this video to see if you are really somebody who provides, possibly hides information. Usually when I show this video to real estate agents and ask, would you want the following information? I call it PHAT information. P-H-A-T. We're going to get PHAT together here. We're going to go over some data. As an agent, you could show this at an open house, to all sign callers, internet leads, PHAT data. I'll unpack that in a second. My question is though, why do some agents want this desperately when they're looking for a home, but they don't want to give it when they have their buyer looking for a home? I've had agents actually say to me, I wouldn't want the buyer to have that much information. Wait a minute, you'd want it for yourself, but you don't want to give to your client. There's a disconnect here. What's good for you isn't good for them? Yeah, basically that. Hopefully, we all see the light and we give PHAT information. P in PHAT stands for the printout. It's simple. Let's give the buyer the MLS printout. You would probably agree with that. However, we're going to give the buyer the version that you want. If you're a buyer, do you want the agent version of the MLS printout or do you want the buyer version? Which one tells the buyer more information? The agent version or this version? If I'm not sure I understand why we have a separate version, and we could debate it to say there's information on there that the buyer's not supposed to know about, but there's a lot of information written in those things that the buyer, I believe, should know about, and that the agents should share with their buyers. That, seller must sell. Sometimes you see in the agent remarks area. Seller motivated, bring offer. It's not in the agent remarks area, not in the public remark area, it's in the agent remark area. Relocation property, whatever it says in there. If you're the consumer, do you want to see the full MLS printout? Okay, let's say we do. That means it's good enough for us, it's good enough for the buyer. The days in the market show the full cumulative days in the market on this version, but not this version. You want to know it? Let's make sure we give that to our clients. But agents go, the information for the other listing agent is on there too. Well, if you have your buyer under agency agreement, and they like you, and they trust you, they have confidence in you, there should be no harm in them seeing simply a phone number of the other agent. Do we trust our buyer? There's enough information on there, I'd say yes, the buyer deserves the same version that we would want for looking for a home. PHAT. The H is the history table of the property. In most MLSs around the country, you call it the archive history table, where you can see back 3 years. And in our metropolitan area, you can see all the way back to 1998, how many times the house had been listed, expired, all that, closed, all kinds of information about the property. Again, if you're a buyer and you're looking at properties, you're trying to learn about the area, but you also want to learn about the housing and know more about it because you're about to make the largest investment of your life. Is it fair or unfair to ask the agent? He has to produce the history table so a buyer can see what's going on with each house they looked at. Then there's an appreciation table. We have a software program. You just ask for it. There's no fee for this. It's called the Forecaster. The Forecaster will allow you to show the appreciation rate or depreciation rate. This homeowner who's on the market, it's great for listing tools as well, helping the seller understand about appreciation and depreciation. But for a buyer, this appreciation table essentially shows the buyer, if the seller is asking $400,000 and they bought in 2006 and they paid $360 and they have no evidence of capital improvements, again, paid $360 and they're asking $400 and they lived through 6 of the toughest years of depreciation. Should the house have gone up in value or down? Well, if they stole it, up in value. If they pumped it full of money, maybe up in value. But most people didn't do that. Most homeowners took a property, lived there for a few years, put a little bit of money into it, and then they resold it. And they didn't steal it, they didn't pump it full of money. In other words, almost anybody that bought, for example, in 07 across the country, 08, and resold around this time, sold their property for less than they paid for it. Not everybody, because some of those people pumped it full of money. So what the depreciation table that you can have for free, it's online, and so they got the PHA, depreciation table tells them if the seller, will the market allow that kind of growth? It's a great way for buyers to quickly understand the depreciation table. It's a quick way for the buyer to understand if they saw 11 properties and 10 of the 11, or 8 of the 11 were depreciating and hadn't sold yet, they were selling below their list price. It helps the buyer understand the quadrant. Question again, would you want that for yourself? Before somebody makes a decision to say, I won't do all that work. Well, would you do it for yourself? The last thing is the tax record. The public tax record, or if in your MLS you have the realist tax record, what's it show on there? What the prior person paid. What the current owner paid for the property. Now you can see the MLS, what they're asking, $400, but you can also see in the tax record that they paid $360. Most places in the nation, it shows what somebody paid for a property and when they did. And it's either in the realist tax records, or it's in the public tax records, or it's in the MLS, depends on how many years your property goes back. I just know if you're my agent and I want differentiation and I want the fair treatment that you give to yourself, I want to get fat. And if you are looking to differentiate yourself with buyers than other agents who won't provide this, this is a tool that really makes a difference to the consumer. All right, thanks for watching.